Hi everyone, thanks for book time. I don't know if I should be waiting for everybody's time, but since we're having with it, I found the time. We still start. So my presentation today is called Decentring the Typographic Hierarchy in the Context of Pluriverse Bilingual Text.
Because there are a lot of people in the room, we're absorbing an awful lot of sound. Our bodies are absorbing a lot of sound.
Right.
And there doesn't seem to be any audio, so could we ask for a loud talk?
I will try to shout. Okay, wow. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, wow. So bilingualism, or like the use of multi-script, is not a new phenomenon, right? It was widely depicted in history accounts. For example, on the left, the Ural Bulu, a bilingual Babylonian tablet of glossary that it's a word list of Sumerians and Akkadian cuneiform. The second on the right is the ornamental tablet trilingual text in Old Persian, Babylonian, Elamite, found in Iran. Also, one of the famous, the Rosetta Stone that has three scripts. The upper text is ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, the middle portion is Demotic script, and the lowest is Ancient Greek. So, languages and writing systems have been shaped by cultures' interactions, displacement, power, and colonization across history. And you can see in this example how Arabic traveled to India. Found in history and different temples, and also how the Roman also travel, to Lebanon, to Baalbek, and we can see these traces as a trace of colonization, and power. Today, almost 2/3 of the people in the world are bilingual. With the demographic shift of people around the globe, the rise of multicultural populations because of colonizations, politics, capitalism, immigration, cultural exchange, education, the local and global economies, emerging technologies, e-commerce, and social media have all contributed to make English an omnipresent language used alongside many native tongues in various countries, including the Arab world. This fact drove the practice of bilingual communication, the verbal and the visual, to become a pressing matter. A little bit of context. Arabic is the second most widely used alphabetic writing system in the world after the Latin script, and the third most by number of users after the Latin and Chinese scripts. Aside from Arabic language, Arabic script is also used in Persian, Malay, and Urdu. Their languages are not Semitic, but the Arabic is Semitic. The spoken Arabic varies in dialects in the Middle East countries, and is fundamentally different from the written formal Arabic, the modern standard Arabic. So today's most Arabic residents interact in English and Arabic, and in many other Francophone countries, they communicate in their indigenous language, French, English, and Arabic. So the verbal and written Latin and Arabic currently coexist, and their visual and verbal coexistence is now unavoidable. Typographers need to consider this reality and its broader cultural implications. With the movable type spreading to the rest of the world since the 15th century in printing technology that is generously and exclusively serving the Latin script for a long time, Latin type design grew an abundant library of typefaces, allowing for more sophisticated typographic designs. The mechanization of type in the Arab world using movable type was unattainable. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Until late 19th century and early 20th century. Not long time ago, the cutting edge of the Arabic digital type industry happened with the Unicode technology and Adobe's OpenType that paved the way to create and represent digital text on various writing systems in the world, including Arabic. So now Arabic typography is more visible. And heard Newton inclusive technology that created a democratic space for Arabic type design and typography. Despite its history in the making of contemporary Arabic typeface, its short history, Arabic typography is experiencing a rebirth with remarkable reforms on typographic principles that extend beyond letter forms to create viable solutions for legibility and readability. This renaissance is boldly producing inspiring opportunities to improve multilingual information access, reading engagement, and intellectual progress in Arab society. Arabic typography is diverging from the influence of Western centering system, a system that previously piloted the Arabic typography industry and education for a stretched period of time. So the aim of this presentation is to inform and support designers in the multi-script layout strategies and practices. More specifically, it highlights the interaction of Arabic and Latin when sharing the same space and how through suggested typographic strategies, typographers can specify disparity of bilingual text arrangements, alignments, reading direction, legibility, and harmony. So I'm going to talk about three strategies in here. So the first strategy is get to know your bilingual readers. In the bilingual process, typographers need to research and learn about their bilingual readers before embarking on designing the content. The second strategy, or maybe, or before getting the second strategy, so in order to get to know the audience, some study by Sarah Shin, a professor of education, claimed that bilinguals have different proficiency in two languages, because the two languages are often learned under different conditions for a range of purposes and are used in a variety of situations with different people. She framed the classification of bilingual, and I synthesized from her study 3 bilingual types. The coordinate, classified under language competence, which are independent. That means they can speak and write and comprehend both languages equally. The compound, which is classified under language dominance. In this scenario, bilinguals have different proficiency in the two languages. One language is more dominant than the other. And the subcoordinate classified under semilinguals. For this category, bilinguals lack proficiency in both languages. So they understand the words of a weak second language, but relying on a stronger first language. So the strategy 2 that help typographers to understand how to deal with bilingual typography is to map the difference of script structure. We've seen examples where the Arabic is misrepresented in a way due to lack of consultancy. So again, getting to know the materials and the script is quite interesting and fundamental. So again, briefly, I'm going to select a few of these characteristics. One of them is that we know that Arabic reads from right to left, and it's based on connected letters, and it's really a repository of ligatures. A lot of connections between the 2 or 3 letters, or maybe the word. There are variable letter shapes and word position, the initial, the medial, the terminal, and the standalone. Horizontal flow of letters with big horizontal lines, and versus, be relaxed, more vertical. And different Arabic style have multiple and slender baselines. Also, they have, if we're talking about X height in English, and we don't have X height in Arabic, we have more of a loop height, tooth height, or multiple of heights of crickets and loop heights. No capital letters and no serif, but shows contrast that appear more texture and curvature. The strategy number 3, exploring layout direction through the lens of understanding text meaning and defining the length of the bilingual text. So this is very important to understand the nature of the text in both languages and not in one. It's not enough. Second, employing bilingual typefaces that are designed to work as a paired script or balanced typefaces to create visual balance. And at this point, I think we're living a historical moment in typography, in Arabic typography. So these are examples from my book, where we can see a lot of amazing, outstanding designers working hard to make the Arabic typography visually balanced with the Latin without compromising any characteristics of the letter, relying more on calligraphic principles to build pieces. So these are examples of Frutiger in Arabic, designed by Nadine Shaheen at Universe Next, also by Nadine Shaheen. The Latino Arabic and the Latino Song by Nadine Shaheen also. And what is interesting here is that, with 29 LTZ designed by Pascal Zulpi, we can start to see that the typefaces, the Latin and Arabic, are probably being designed together to form this conversation of formal qualities between the two splits. And another example is the CAF typeface. Another typeface that I love and something, I wrote a review about this typeface called Zain 29LT. It's like we said that the Arabic doesn't have serif, but it just brings some quality of serif strokes, within the letters. And another one called Makina, which is more experimental. So also type can be fun, right? And it's always interesting to see how designers are progressing with the visual balance of creating Arabic and Latin. That's also fun one. Excuse me. Strategy number 3, reading direction that respect the reading script. Developing space division and surface, including flexible grid system that accommodates the interaction of two different scripts of text. And here, I think the dilemma of having two scripts, I think Paul today talked about the grid system and talked about, the principles of how, and imagine we're doing this double on one page because we have to respect both scripts. And dealing with that is a very, very complex system. So exploring with modular grid, symmetrical grid, as a kind of a default, because we have two, they should be equal on page, but also sometimes an asymmetric grid can be of an interesting layout or generate an interesting layout. This is a poster that I have designed where we're using bilingual typeface, but also the position, the distribution of the text is very equal and respectful at this point. Managing paragraph position and alignment. It's very important on a page when you have two scripts sharing the same page, to think about maybe the baseline as a unit of, or a common unit, between, the both scripts. And these new typefaces design, they're really doing a great job setting, let's say 10/12 point. And you can see that both, Arabic and Latin, they share the same line spacing. And also going back here to the idea of tracking or letter spacing. In Arabic, we cannot detach letters, right? It changed the way, things are connected and the way we read it. So we use Kashida to balance. You can see here the small extension to balance sometimes some spacing between the letters. So some characteristics as typographer we need to know. There are a lot, and this is long due to the time. We cannot cover them all, but at least get to know more of her typographic details is very important. Structuring information flow, how the text will move from left to right or right to left. What is the decision? Applying typographic contrast, the type contrast, size, weight, color, texture, direction, form, and structure, and setting typographic details for words or paragraphs, such as, for example, if you have two paragraphs on a spread, aligning the text, flush left, right, and Latin, or flush right, left in Arabic, it creates really, if they're too close, they create a really weird spacing in here that we need to manage and deal with. So looking at the proximity on a page and a spread, it's important to study strategically how these two paragraphs cannot be there to just sustain the gestalt that we're talking about and the unity of both without, creating spaces that are unnecessary. Also, maybe the structure of the Arabic has more of embellishment and punctuations and also diacritic dots that are more exaggerated than the Latin. And it's something that you have to deal with because it brings more textures onto the paper. And, yeah. So in looking at, in response to these inquiries, as through the lens of the strategies of bilingual structure and typography just discussed, I suggest 3 typographic models on bilingual typography originally discussed in my book, Bilingualism in Visual Communication. So the first model excuse me, is called the typographic equilibrium model. In this model, Arabic and Latin scripts exchange and compete, conforming meaning on the same platform while delivering similar content and language values. Sustaining a cohesive visual match between both scripts is extremely important. And this approach is also framed as decentering typography. Decentering typography is to recognize each script structure principles, bring equal importance and representation of both scripts, form, and meaning without being biased or express preferences to one script design over another. decentering the focus on the typographic system, make bilingual text more inclusive and respectful. This model engaged the coordinate bilinguals, where if you know both languages, you can read each language separately. So this can also engage this type of bilingual we talked about earlier. I'm sharing with you my book, Design. I wrote this book in both languages in 2017. And the structure of this book was really planned in a way that bringing respect to both languages, without being biased to any of these, because I'm a multi-trilingual designer, and sometimes I code switch, but I was insisting that, each script should have its own value and presence. So the book would open like a laptop, for one reason, because I want the Arabic to be read from right to left and the English from left to right on the same page. And I can show you, for example, this is an example here where you can see that the text, both scripts, are aligned on the same baseline. I used Greta typeface, which is a typeface designed by Typotech Arabic, Christian Serkis. And this typeface really brings a great balance of the visual form and quality of these letters in Arabic and Latin together. Also, the text, each language would end in one page, so there's no continuity of the text that goes on the next page. So it's like self-contained in one page. So these are some examples of the spreads from the book. This is an article written by Nadine Shaheen in the book, and it shows all these formal qualities of type that we use and building some contrast, that are really mirrored in a way without making a lot of compromise in any of these languages. This is a close-up of the typographic details. Usually, and most of the time, the Arabic is shorter in text than the Latin, and you find this, obvious in every page. Chapter divisions. So the readers would really read the Arabic version from right to left on the same page, or the reader in English reads from left to right on the same page, and the images are common to all the scripts, to both scripts. Another approach of book design when thinking about the reading direction is to publish one book, divide this book into two parts, use the right side to embed the Arabic and the left side embed the English. And at this point, there are duplication of images and duplication because each version has to have its own content. Back to this poster, here you can see that the text visually is aligned, to have kind of an interaction of both scripts on one column, like in this example here, but also the introduction is using one column to overlap the introduction, using the weight, to highlight, the important keywords, just to sustain the visual language in balance and in equilibrium between both scripts. Another example of poster that I have designed to promote a calligrapher, Wissam Chowkat. So again, the content is equal. The visuals, the content in both languages, are really having the same balance of text. The distribution and the decision of alignment or positioning and creating this eye scanning to move from one point to another in one script and one point to another in another script is orchestrated in a way that will create this kind of balance. Excuse me. Another work of my students, Sheikha and Farha Ladawi, so winning posters and posters for tomorrow, where they use now the script as Arabic to become of a cultural connotation and a cultural presence. So here the balance of Arabic and Latin has shifted. So there is this scenario where sometimes in an Arabic context or for a certain purpose of a communication, you need to amplify the voice of the Arabic because it has to bring this voice, it has to bring this characteristic. So referring to some Arabic typefaces that is more of a calligraphic base rather than just being so clean and neat like the Latin, it just brings this mode of expression. This is a poster that I have designed for an activist campaign movement in Western Virginia. And I used bilingual, also Greta typeface to create a texture of a pattern that could go over all the t-shirts and all the components of that campaign. An interesting approach in bilingual posters also is that when you use one poster as a format and you use color coding or color system, the color scheme, and overlapping the two scripts together. So in one time, you read it in English and then you flip the poster to read it in Arabic. This is a kind of interesting approach. It's clever to accommodate space, but at the same time, bring respect to each script. Another visual positions, for a poster to promote a band is using Arabic and Latin equally in terms of text. And you see the title here called Fil Wasla. It's transliterated here in English. However, the designer decided to use the Arabic calligraphy to bring this cultural connotation and cultural visual representation of the experience of that event. So if you omit this, it doesn't affect the text. It's still there. However, the visual of that is just reinforce the identity and the nature of that project or of that event. Another example of also a poster designed by Alma Jibrail in Germany. It's to promote a workshop for refugees. Again, if we omit this title in red in Arabic, قصتي حقيقتي, I think. And then so if you remove it, you still get the whole information, in both scripts. However, the Arabic here is to reinforce the visual identity. Another series of posters designed by a Canadian Persian designer for the movement, Women Life Freedom, that happened in Iran. And you can see here the series of the posters. They're both a translation of like the same content and written in Farsi and in Latin. However, the Farsi is more amplified because it converts with the mission on that poster and to amplify that voice. So again, you can see how typography, when it's tied to emotions, right, and to cultural connotations, can change the way we look at things, especially in a bilingual context. Other series of examples from Mehdi Saidi, Iranian designer. Again, in this first example here on the left, you can see there is this interplay between instrumental typography and expressive typography. So he used the Iranian script to make more expressive messages versus more of an instrumental formal setting using edited Latin. And you can see this a lot in the diasporic setting. What's this about? A second model that I want to talk about is this when there's one language that is more dominant than the other. And where you have a compound bilinguals. This is a brochure that I have designed for the Bilingual Design Educator Association. And you can see that the majority of the text is in Latin, is in English. However, there's in one column in Arabic. Because at this point, the readers are more, even they are in the Middle East, and even you will be shocked sometimes to see that the some of my students, half of them do not know how to read Arabic because of, their education being, all the time in Western institutions, but in these contexts. So, had to make the English complete in meaning and bring the text as an introduction that it doesn't require a lot of, definitions, there's all terms, that talks about design in Arabic. So we can see here, we rely on the English to complete the message of that. Another 5 minutes. Okay. Another poster of my students in Canada to promote an end of field exhibition. So they use trilingual, Latin, Korean, and Arabic. But if you see that it's just only for a visual kind of expression representation, and the rest of the text is completed in Latin. That means we rely always on the Latin to complete that message. So we use the other scripts as a cultural connotations or cultural expression and a sense of we're here, right? We exist. And bring this conversation of culture as well. So I'm going to skip this with the time. Also, this is another poster for MEDEA Saidi, where the complete message is set in English and left the Arabic or the Farsi made more of an emotional expressive typology. So if you omit the Arabic, you won't understand what is it all about. If you omit the Latin, you won't understand what it's all about. So I need the Latin as the component to make the complete message. Same thing for this poster. It's called Kalfumiyat. In the text, there's no transliteration for this word, Kalfumiyat, to say this is the title of the event. So if you omit it, you won't understand what is the event all about. So here we're relying on the Arabic title to make the completion of the message in Arabic and then make the English as a supporter. So it's the opposite of previous examples. Another series of also by Aryan Shariati. So it's an experimental project using Farsi, but the starting point start with Arabic and Latin as to set the tone of that experimentation, and then he relies on the Farsi typeface and the power of the images to tell the narrative of the series. The third model is called typographic code switch model, and this will translate the way we speak. I don't know if you've heard Lebanese, someone like me, who speaks Arabic, and I can infuse easily 3 languages in one sentence, and not out of sophistication, because this is how we communicate daily, in our culture. So there are a lot of this daily practice conversation that is translated visually as well into the design. So, sorry. One example is by Majoun. And again, sometimes they do it for fun or for to reflect that experience. Like Beirut speaks jazz, and then the word speaks is a common word for Arabic and Latin. So they rely on the English to complete the message in Arabic. Another component is also using في ناس منتظرة على التروتوار في ناس منتظرة على البلكون. That means, there are people who, are waiting on the pavement and people who are waiting on the balcony. So, again, using and switching and adding another script or another language in the same sentence to make one meaning is what we call code switching. And I think most of us, we do this, every day, now with all this technology. And, so to conclude, in the context of visual communication, multi-script, and its typographic composition, the typographic composition connotes not only the form and the meaning of the bilingual text, but also represent the meeting point of 2 cultures in conversation. Typographers, and most importantly, fearless designers, never stop experimenting and pushing creative boundaries further. The typographic paradigm shift into practice of bilingual typography should instigate radical change that evolve, defining the bilingual reader structure and their particular needs, prioritize the implication of a language-based typography, understanding the binary narrative, learning about the individual typographic system and principles of each group before embarking on the design journey initiating a research space that explore new avenues and gains them in multiple resources and references that challenge the colonial canon in bilingual typography, exploring design technology to communicate these radical approaches and make them visible. Among these three models that we presented, the equilibrium model might be for many of us today the safest, most realistic and respectful approach, possibly because as monolinguals or ordinary bilinguals, we can relate. However, designing for the other two models that frame bilinguals with visual and verbal code switching is most challenging and should be taken seriously as many bilinguals understand or construct meaning by mixing languages. So I would leave you with these questions that would definitely this platform would ask for more research. How can designers and typographers contribute to this conversation and advance the level of design engagement? What other disciplines can be involved? How can we amplify the respect for bilingual design experience and make space for multiple voices in typographic setting? Of course, we need more. So typographers who progress a system of values become agents of change and culturally responsible typographers. Thank you all.